Hello, Grace Community Church. In the May 22nd reading in Cover to Cover, the chronological Bible in a year, we are again looking at 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles. And the focus now shifts from the building of the temple to the building of Solomon's palace, a structure which took 13 years to build, as opposed to the temple's building time of a little more than 7 years. The palace took longer, not because of building issues, but because it was substantially larger than the temple. As with the temple, Solomon did not cut corners. His palace was built with the best materials available, but unlike the temple, it was not directly ordained by God. One might conclude, and actually several scholars have, that Solomon's values are shifting. First, he marries a foreigner, and then he builds a palace that outshines the temple. Was he becoming more interested in personal glory than in the glory of God? Hiram, who came from Tyre and whose mother was an Israeli from the tribe of Dan, was Solomon's chief craftsman, and he, like Solomon, is described as having wisdom. He worked on both the temple and the palace. There is an old saying, the devil's in the details. Well, this time, the glory is in the details. The finished temple, with its limestone and cedar exteriors and its interiors of burnished bronze and gold, was certainly constructed to be worthy of the Lord. Solomon's palace was not merely a royal residence created to display wealth. It was a symbol of Israel's strength and prosperity. It was an armory. It was a place to hold court and administer judicial decisions. It was the site of public gatherings and state receptions. There was even a separate palace for Pharaoh's daughter, with living quarters similar to his own. The project was a not-so-subtle signal that Israel was becoming a superpower on a par with Egypt. Let's remember, however, that Pharaoh's daughter was the lady who represents the first indication of Solomon's downfall. Like the description in Genesis 6 of the building of the ark and the materials used to build it, the minute details of the building of the temple reminds us of who is actually in control, and it's not us. The temple description, like the description of the ark's construction, demonstrates human obedience to God's instructions. And obedience stated in 1 Chronicles, when God provides David with basically the blueprint and the instructions for the temple's creation. And David said to his son Solomon, "Be strong and do the work." The description of the temple in today's reading shows its purpose. It was a place where God's covenant people could come to worship him and atone for their sins. The decorations reminded the Jews of Eden, and the building itself reminded everyone of national unity. And I'm going to throw a quote here at you. It was the single centralized religious and political heart of the 12 tribes of Israel. The Jews were reminded that they were chosen by God, and that made them like no others. The noting of the details in the building of both the palace and the temple show that this writing is not poetry, it's not prophecy, it's not wisdom literature. The writers of Kings and Chronicles meant to write narratives which provided reality, in our case now historical reality. The materials were real, the plans were real, the work was real, the temple was real.